right, we're at the end of May, so this is a mid to late spring garden tour. So we started off early in the spring with some kind of bug or cutworm. I don't know, maybe it was a mole or something that kept chopping off all of my plants that I was planting. One thing to note, you'll see a whole lot of these bean plants, these pole beans that are growing really nicely. I actually had no intention of buying pole beans whatsoever. They were supposed to all be bush beans, but because I pulled them from a bag from the grocery store, you kind of never know what you're gonna get. And in this case, we got pole bean. So despite these being pole beans, I do have to say that I am absolutely impressed with the amount of bean pods that this thing has put out, every single one of them, and they came in strong. They look really healthy. They all look really good, and the bug pressure is like non-existent. There's a couple bugs like this little guy right here, but I mean, that's a one-off. If you look kind of across the board, there's almost nothing. There's no bites in the leaves. Everything looks great, looks healthy. Very vibrant green color and a heavy flush of flowers and of bean pods. So if you ask me the cultivar on these beans, I couldn't tell you. What I did do, however, is I went on like one ChatGPT or something like that, maybe Copilot, and I was asking it to find me the cultivar of bush bean that can give me the greatest yield per whatever square acre. And it gave me a variety that is not available commercially or not available to the public for commercial growth or anything like that. But what it did tell me is where I can find the actual beans that are sold in stores. So funny enough, it was actually at a Dollar General, local Dollar General is actually right up the street, that carried this exact brand. And if I can find it, I'll throw an image of it into this video. Might still have a bag of it in the house, but basically I threw these beans in the ground and they are growing like there's no tomorrow. And I haven't really fertilized any of the soil either. So let's talk about the soil a little bit. This is a 30 by 50 plot that we kind of dug out, dropped about 5 trees. This would have been 3 years ago maybe. And we did a chip drop. We put one layer of chip drop on top. As you can see in the distance, we do have chickens, and those chickens produce a good amount of manure. And I have in the past put manure down here after cleaning the chicken coops. It's been about maybe 8 to 10 months since we did that. So the last one would have been maybe in the fall. Leveled this area off a bit, and this year we put this black kind of weed repellent or whatever liner. And the reason we did that is in previous years, the weed pressure gets so crazy here. I guess the soil must be really good or something, but the weed pressure gets so crazy that it actually makes it so that these plants don't grow. They can't grow. They're competing for nutrition, and it just doesn't work out well. So this year I tried to put this down, and it seems to be working well. And all we do is we just take a little blowtorch and blowtorch a couple holes into it, and then we plant. So over here you can see the potatoes are doing really well, and I'm talking really well. These are Kennebec potatoes. We have 2 cultivars of corn growing right now. So this cultivar right here on the right side, we'll call it, this is Jimmy Red, typically used for moonshine, but also a good dent corn that can be used for making cornmeal, or corn flour, corn starch, whatever, all of the above. So it's good for that, good for a dry corn. On this side, you can see several of them. I'll have to drop it into the video as well because I don't quite remember the name, but I know it is an heirloom variety. So what I understand also is that as an heirloom variety, it is also very susceptible to insect pressure, as is often the case with heirloom varieties. However, I will say that I've not seen much of that. I've seen an earwig here and there, but I mean, if you look at the leaves look pretty good. I'm not seeing a whole lot of like disease going on. Here you can see maybe one little leaf, what are they called? Leaf miners or leaf borers or something like that. But generally speaking, the plants are very healthy looking. So those will produce a nice, sweet yellow corn that I'm very much looking forward to trying out here in the next couple of months. And again, on this side are the Jimmy Reds and the Kennebec potatoes, and those Kennebecks are going crazy. I'm assuming that by now there's already tubers forming. Won't know until after I, pull up this tarp, which will be, I don't know, maybe a couple months from now after the corn has dried out. I'll go ahead and chop the tops off these corns, or chop the stalks at the base, and then pull everything up, and then we'll go ahead and harvest those potatoes. Shouldn't be too hard to do too. The soil here is very loose. As you can see on the end, I did run out of that black fabric, the weed cloth, and it's interesting because the corn that's growing on that side is significantly smaller, but there's patches where it's smaller. Like this patch right here, you can see it's pretty strong there, pretty strong over here, but there's this one patch right about here that seems to be very nutrient deprived, and I'm not sure exactly what's causing that. The only thought I might have is that we do have some maypops growing, and I don't know if maypops inhibit the growth of other things. If you don't know what maypop is, it's essentially a, oh shoot, what are they called? Passion flower, passion fruit. It's a type of passion fruit. We've got a couple of asparagus. This is a female plant right here. Just letting it grow out for another year. Next year I'll probably start harvesting a very tiny asparagus that's not doing so well, but it'll probably come back next year a little stronger. And then that's a male asparagus plant. Kind of hard to see. There it is. Yeah, that's the male plant. So we trimmed down on the amount of things that we're growing. We're just growing an abundance of things that can produce a lot within a small amount of space. There's a few remnants from previous years' growth, like a tiny little amaranth in there growing. There's another little amaranth right over there that's growing. Those are kind of volunteer. Not a whole lot else is volunteering itself up this year, but it does look really good, and I'm very excited, very happy with what is growing. A couple of Roma tomatoes that we have, there's one in that cage right there, one in this cage right here. We got 4 of them, and they seem to be doing really well. Very healthy plants. Some brassicas, I couldn't even tell you what they are at this point because I don't remember what I planted. They might be Romanesco broccoli, I'm not sure. The strawberries going crazy. The strawberries really like these black mats. I'm assuming it's because of the amount of heat that they draw in. I've got a few plants that I've planted, trees I should say. These are almost all black walnut right here in these pots, and we've got a couple of pecans, just 2. The rest are all black walnut. Zucchini is doing really well. It really doesn't take a whole lot of zucchini plants to get you all the fruit you'd ever need. Some basil over there, some catnip. And we have a summer squash down here in the corner. Already harvested one from that one. It's already producing a lot. It's a pretty large plant, considering it's only May, end of May, but still really impressive. One little rosemary, one little lavender, and there are some green onions over there on the side. They're kind of hard to see. And you can see the weed pressure on the ends as they're coming in. I am doing them manually. From time to time I go in there and just pull them up, but I'd rather not. Like, honestly, this has been the least amount of attention that I've given the garden in years. Usually I spend a whole lot of time, weeding and tending to, etc. I really haven't done a lot this year except for replanting some of the patches where these cutworms or whatever it was that was pulling stuff up, with the exception again of this patch right here. I kind of just let it go. But oh yeah, here's an example of what the beans are looking like as they're starting to grow out. It's pretty nice. And we've got a big old elderberry bush. This is actually only, I think, 2.5 years old, something like that. I planted it in the ground when it was a stick, probably not much thicker than this right here. And you can see it's kind of taken off. They're really, really fast growing plants that propagate extremely easily. So what I did was every year when I pruned it back, I just stuck those sticks in the dirt and just gave them some water, and they sprouted. So I've got a few of them growing kind of in between a fig and over there, that's a goji berry on the end. Those can get wild too, so I'm trying to maintain it. A little bit of thornless raspberry growing over here. Nothing too crazy. And this is a patch I cleared up just a couple months ago. It had a whole bunch of bushes. So once I cleared it up, all I did was I stuck some leftover potatoes into the ground, and you can see the potatoes are actually doing really well. So it'll just be a little bit more to add to the harvest. Got a few green apples growing. Kind of hard to spot, but they're in there. They're hiding. And then more of those elderberry bushes. We have banana. Unfortunately, banana doesn't have a long enough season in this area to actually come to fruition, literally. More apple. These ones come out to like a golden delicious, I believe. This right here is an ever-bearing mulberry, so it will put out a couple flushes a year, and each flush is in succession bigger than the last, so they get pretty heavy loaded with fruits. And again, very easy to propagate. We plan on getting a whole lot of fruits, and this is, you know, it's been in the dirt all of a year and a half, right, Hunter? It's been in the dirt about a year and a half, and I cut it back about halfway, so it just sprung right back up. Very vigorous growth coming out of that tree. Here we've got I will call it a high-end muscadine. You can see some of the little berries right there. But this little muscadine right here produces thin-skinned, seedless muscadines, allegedly, right? I haven't tried them yet. This will be the first year that we've got it since it's been bearing fruit. Planted it early last year, got some nice stringy vines out of it, and this year I'm just gonna let them strengthen up and put out some fruit. And hopefully by next year, those stalks or those vines will be a little bit thicker, and we'll be able to start propagating for our friends. And being that we are in North Carolina, one of the native fruit trees to this area is pawpaw. So I've got two of them. You can't really get fruit out of one alone, but we got two pawpaw trees, and they are within a quick handful of paces away from the creek that runs behind, or kind of through our property, behind the fenced in area. So they'll be able to get access to water through their roots, and just a couple hours of shade. You can kind of see there's a little patch of sunlight where the sun passes, and that's where they'll get just a few hours of sunlight. They do like mostly shade, but a little bit of sunlight will do them good. It'll help them grow real big. And while I've got nothing really growing back here just yet, this is an area of our forest that I cleared out earlier this year that we do plan to put, at very least, a few of those black walnut trees that I'm growing out from seed. So we have these little caged out areas. That's where we plan on putting them. And little by little, we're gonna start to clear out some of the growth in this forest. Some of these sweet gum trees that really don't need to be here. There's some birch trees that are, you know, relatively weaker wood. They're gonna drop anyways. They'll be dropping branches all over the place as they get older. So here's one black walnut that we did get in the ground, and it's looking good. It's very healthy. So I put the fencing around it. It doesn't really stop squirrels, but I had put 4 of the black walnuts out here before, and squirrels dug them up to get to the nut. So I'm letting them grow out just a little bit longer in a pot, and then I'm going to transfer them out here, and it'll be, hopefully we'll have some big old black walnut trees that my great grandkids can sell for $1 million. I don't know. We do also have these 2 massive poplar trees that I'm hoping to suspend a big fat giant swinging chair from, or a swinging bench, and that way we'll be able to look at the horse ranch in the back. Can't really see it in the summertime, but in the winter you can see it clear as day. There's horses that run back there. It's a beautiful sight. So yeah, no one ever tells you that when you buy a tract of land, you have to do stuff to it. Otherwise it falls into disarray, I guess you could say. Yeah, I did put 1 pecan tree right here. Looks like it's doing okay. And there was 1 other pecan tree, a little guy, right here. So I'll just have to watch them. Hopefully they can grow up to be nice and big. Again, once I start clearing out some of these other trees, those guys will get a little bit more sun, and they'll get a little bit healthier and bigger, and maybe in 20 years we'll start getting some pecans. and black walnuts. And we still got a bunch of babies that are growing out, and they find their way back to their mama. Ain't that right, big guy? And then we got big guy right here. It's a project breed that we're working on. Raleigh Giants.